3 months after Red Dawn, the galaxy had transformed completely. The Galactic Council met again, but this time, the chamber looked very different. Human representatives sat at the head table where Chancellor Vex had once ruled. The former masters of space now waited nervously in lower sections, hoping for a chance to speak. President Yang Mi-kyung stood at the central podium wearing the same type of simple uniform that Commander Park Hyun had worn months earlier when he begged for help, but now the chamber was silent with respect instead of buzzing with contempt. Every alien delegate hung on her words, fellow beings of the galaxy. President Yang Mi-kyung began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. We gather today to establish a new order based on equality and justice. The age of human begging has ended forever. The age of mutual respect begins now. Chancellor Vex sat in what had once been the human section, his proud bearing replaced by nervous anxiety. His hegemony species had been brought low by Dr. Kim Soo-jin's virus, and only human medicine could save them. He raised a trembling hand to request permission to speak. The hegemony accepts all human terms, he said, his voice barely audible. We will return all stolen territory, release all prisoners, and pay reparations as demanded. We beg for mercy and the cure to the illness that plagues our people. President Yang Mi-kyung looked at him with the same cold expression he had once used on humans. Begging does not suit you, Chancellor. Perhaps you should consider offering useful services in exchange for what you need. The irony was not lost on anyone in the chamber. The exact words that had once been used to humiliate humans were now being used against their former oppressors. The psychological impact was devastating. The Vorthak delegate who had once spit acid in contempt now groveled before the human representatives. We offer complete surrender of our raiding fleets and will accept human oversight of all our military operations. Please spare our remaining colonies. The luminary flickered desperately between visible and transparent as their representative spoke. Our homeworld has been dark for months. Our people are dying without energy. We will accept any terms to restore power to our cities. President Yang Mi-kyung listened to each species present their surrender terms. The same beings who had once laughed at human requests now competed to offer the most complete submission to human authority. The terms are simple. President Yang Mi-kyung announced, all human slaves will be freed immediately and returned to their families. All territory taken from humans will be restored to human control. All species that participated in human oppression will pay reparations calculated to cover 60 years of theft and abuse. She paused to let the weight of her words sink in. Most importantly, humanity will never again be dismissed, ignored, or treated as inferior. Any species that violates this principle will face the full force of human military might. Commander Park Hyun now served as humanity's first galactic ambassador, and he watched from his seat as alien diplomats frantically took notes on every human demand. The same chamber, where he had been humiliated, now served as the site of humanity's total victory. After the session, Park Hyun walked through Nexus Prime Station, but this time the experience was completely different. Alien merchants bowed respectfully as he passed. Children of various species stared at him with a mixture of fear and awe. Security guards snapped to attention when they saw his human uniform. He stopped at the same communication booth where he had sent his 3-word message months earlier. He sent a different message to Earth. Mission accomplished. No human will ever beg again. On Earth, Dr. Kim Soo-jin worked in her new laboratory developing medicines that could cure the diseases she had unleashed. The hegemony virus had served its purpose, but she was not cruel enough to let an entire species die. Her cure was ready, but it came with permanent conditions. The treatment requires ongoing medication that only humans can produce. She explained to her research team, every hegemony citizen will need monthly injections for the rest of their lives. They will never again be able to threaten humanity, because their very survival depends on our goodwill. Similar arrangements were being made with other species. The Vorthak discovered that their sonic weapon injuries required human medical technology to heal properly. The Luminary learned that their power grid could only be restored using human engineering knowledge. Captain Lee Dong-woo patrolled the space lanes in his flagship, Retribution. But now his mission was different. Instead of protecting human ships from pirates, he enforced human law throughout the galaxy. His mere presence was enough to make entire fleets change course. Human patrol vessel. This is the Zentari. Trade convoy Delta requesting permission to enter the Rigel system. Came a transmission from a group of alien cargo ships. Permission granted. Captain Lee Dong-woo replied, "Maintain your filed course and submit to inspection at checkpoint 7. Any deviation will result in immediate impoundment." The same aliens who had once ignored human shipping now followed human traffic laws exactly. They had learned that breaking human rules carried consequences that no species wanted to face. General Cho Woo-jin supervised the construction of human military bases throughout the galaxy. The hidden facilities that had produced the weapons for Red Dawn were now replaced by open installations that served as reminders of human power. The Proxima. Base's operational general, reported Colonel Lee Jae-sung. "We have railgun batteries that can hit targets in 3 star systems and missile launchers that can reach any known alien homeworld." Good General Cho Woo-jin replied, "The aliens need constant reminders that humanity is watching them. Complacency is what allowed them to oppress us for 60 years. We will never make that mistake again." Nam Jin-woo maintained his intelligence network, but now his agents worked openly instead of in secret. The servants and workers who had once been invisible to aliens now served as humanity's eyes and ears throughout the galaxy. Agent Kim Hye-jin reports that the Rigel system is fully compliant with human regulations, he announced during his daily briefing. Agent Lee Subin confirms that the Vorthak have dismantled their remaining slave markets. Agent Park Dong-hyun has established monitoring stations throughout the Nexus Prime system. The final symbol of humanity's transformation came when the first human children in decades were born free from fear. Parents who had once hidden their families from alien raiders now raised their children in parks on worlds that had once banned human presence. On the former hegemony capital, world human children played in the Great Plaza while hegemony adults watched nervously from a distance. The same beings who had once ruled the galaxy now served as cautious observers of human happiness. President Yang Mi-kyung visited the colony of New Haven where the first Battle of Red Dawn had taken place. The mining families who had once cowered in shelters now worked openly under the protection of human warships. "Your sacrifice made this possible," she told the colonists. "You endured the attacks and the fear, so that future generations of humans would never have to beg for the right to exist." The galaxy had learned its lesson the hard way. Humanity's patience had limits, and crossing those limits carried consequences that would echo through the stars for generations. The species that had once mocked human weakness now lived in permanent fear of human strength. As President Yang Mi-kyung looked up at the stars from New Haven Colony, she smiled at the thought that human children everywhere could now dream of exploring those stars without fear. The day humans stopped begging had become the day the galaxy learned to respect the power of those who had been pushed too far. The age of human dominance had begun, and it would never end. The Galactic Council called an emergency session as reports flooded in from across their territory. The great chamber that had once echoed with laughter at human expense now filled with panicked voices speaking in dozens of alien languages. Fear had replaced contempt, and desperation had replaced arrogance. Chancellor Vex stood at his speaking podium, his gray skin looking even paler than usual. His black eyes darted around the chamber as he tried to maintain control over a situation that was spiraling beyond anyone's ability to manage. "Fellow council members, we face an unprecedented threat," Vex announced, his voice cracking slightly. "The humans have revealed military capabilities that exceed our worst estimates. They have attacked our installations across 17 star systems and shown they can strike anywhere at any time." The Vorthak delegate who had once spit acid near Park Hyun's feet now trembled as he spoke. "Our home system has lost 3 military bases and our main ammunition depot. The humans used some kind of sonic weapon that killed our soldiers instantly. How did they know about our hearing sensitivity?" From the crystal section of the chamber, the luminary representative flickered between visible and transparent. But this time it was from fear, not boredom. Our homeworld has been without power for 6 hours. The humans somehow sabotaged our entire energy grid. We are completely helpless without our stellar collectors. Chancellor Vex slammed his fist on the podium. This is impossible. Humans are weak. They beg for protection. They serve as janitors and translators. They cannot have developed such advanced weapons without our knowledge. But even as he spoke, Vex knew the truth was far more terrifying. Every species in the chamber was beginning to understand that they had been living with human agents for years. The servants they barely noticed had been watching and learning. The workers they dismissed as inferior had been preparing for war intelligence. Reports continued to arrive, each one worse than the last. The Zentari discovered that their insect colonies had been infiltrated by humans who understood their hive communication systems. The Keth found that their underwater cities had been mapped by human deep-sea specialists. The Morvac learned that their mountain fortresses had been surveyed by human mining engineers. "Sir, we have lost contact with our fleet at the Tau Ceti system," reported a hegemony military officer to Chancellor Vex. "The last transmission mentioned human ships moving faster than our sensors could track. They use some kind of kinetic weapons that our shields cannot stop." The psychological warfare was just as devastating as the military strikes. Commander Park Hyun now served as humanity's director of galactic communications, and he made sure every alien government received detailed reports of human victories. The messages were simple, but terrifying. "You laughed when we asked for protection. Now you will beg for mercy. You dismissed us as inferior. Now you will learn what inferior really means. We remember every insult, every slight, and every moment of contempt. The bill has come due, and payment is overdue." Dr. Kim Soo-jin's biological weapons continued their silent work across hegemony space. The modified virus spread from planet to planet, causing illness that their doctors could not cure. Millions of hegemony citizens lay bedridden while their military forces collapsed from within. The hegemony medical chief Dr. Thex contacted Earth directly, breaking decades of protocol. "Please, we need the cure for this disease. Our people are dying, and our doctors cannot help them. We will pay any price." Dr. Kim Soo-jin received the message in her laboratory and smiled coldly. "The cure exists, but it comes with conditions: complete withdrawal from all human territory, immediate release of all human prisoners, and formal recognition of human sovereignty over our claimed systems." Similar negotiations were happening across the galaxy. Species that had once treated humans like annoying insects now competed desperately for human attention. The Kravith pirates, who had enslaved human families for decades, sent messages begging for mercy from human military. Commander's Captain Lee Dongwoo read the surrender offers from his command ship, but felt no satisfaction. "They had 60 years to treat us with respect," he told his crew. "Now they want to negotiate from positions of weakness. Too little, too late." The Xiao economic impact proved just as devastating as the military strikes. Human agents who had worked in alien financial systems for years began revealing the locations of secret accounts and hidden assets. Trillions of credits that had been stolen from human trade vanished from alien banks and reappeared in human accounts. Nam Jin-woo coordinated the largest intelligence operation in galactic history from his center on Earth. Agent Park Ji-young has accessed the Zentari central bank records. Agent Kim Tae-hyun has downloaded the complete Vorthak military database. Agent Lee Yeon-soo has copied every communication from the Galactic Council for the past 10 years. The aliens finally understood the scope of human preparation. Every conversation they had ever had about humanity had been recorded. Every plan they had made had been known to human intelligence. Every weakness they thought was secret had been studied and catalogued. Chancellor Vex called for military intervention but discovered that his own forces were falling apart. The hegemony fleet that had ruled space for centuries found their ships breaking down as human saboteurs activated hidden devices. The fuel they had been using for months contained additives that would destroy their engines over time. "How long have they been planning this?" Vex demanded from his remaining advisors. "How could an entire species deceive us for so long?" His intelligence chief, Dr. Moran, looked at the reports with growing horror. Sir, it appears they have been preparing since their first contact with galactic civilization. They never stopped being a military species, they just hid it better than we thought possible. The truth was even more impressive than the aliens realized humanity had maintained their warrior spirit throughout 60 years of humiliation. They had studied every species that oppressed them, learned every weakness, and prepared for the day when patience would end and justice would begin on distant human colonies that had lived in fear for decades. Celebrations erupted in the streets. Children who had hidden from alien raiders now played freely in the sunlight. Parents who had worked extra shifts to pay tribute to pirates now watched human warships patrol. Their skies, General Cho Woo-jin received reports from across human space. All colonies report secure, sir. The pirates have been eliminated, the slavers have been destroyed, and the tribute collectors have been driven away. For the first time in 60 years, our people can sleep without fear. But the humans were not finished. The galaxy had created this situation by treating them like inferiors. Now they would live with the consequences. The age of human submission was over forever, and the age of human dominance had only just begun. The Galactic Council session ended with no solutions and no hope. The species that had once ruled the galaxy now faced an enemy they had created through their own cruelty and contempt. The humans they had dismissed, as harmless, had become the most dangerous force in known space. As the alien delegates left the chamber, many wondered if they would ever feel safe again. The answer was simple: they would not. The galaxy changed forever on a day that would be remembered as Red Dawn. It started like any other day, with the Kravith pirates preparing for what they thought would be another easy raid on helpless humans. 3 full raider fleets moved toward the mining colony New Haven, expecting to find the usual terrified colonists begging for mercy. Captain Zeth commanded the lead fleet from his flagship Bloodfang. He had raided human settlements dozens of times, and it was always the same. The humans would send out distress signals that nobody answered. They would try to hide in their shelters while the pirates took whatever they wanted, including people to sell as slaves. Begin the attack pattern. Zeth ordered his fleet, same as always, hit the communication arrays first so they cannot call for help. Then take the mining equipment and round up anyone who looks useful for the slave markets. The 3 Kravith fleets spread out around New Haven colony just like they had done so many times before. But this time something was different. This time the humans were ready. Captain Lee Dong-woo watched from the bridge of his hidden ship as the Kravith pirates moved into position. His ship looked like a simple cargo vessel, but it was actually packed with enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Around him, 30 other human ships waited in the asteroid field surrounding the colony. All of them looked harmless. All of them were deadly. All ships report ready, Captain. His communications. Officer announced, "We have target locks on every enemy vessel. Weapons are charged and ready to fire." Captain Lee Dong-woo thought about all the human children who had been taken by these same pirates, all the families destroyed, all the colonies burned for every human they ever hurt. He said quietly, "Fire everything." What happened next shocked the entire galaxy. The human ships erupted from the asteroid field like ancient earth wolves attacking a herd of sheep. But instead of simple weapons, they unleashed technology that no alien had ever seen before. Railgun rounds screamed through space at incredible speeds, punching through Kravith hulls like they were made of paper. The pirates' shields, which had always protected them from energy, weapons were useless against chunks of metal moving at 30% the speed of light. "What is happening?" Captain Zeth screamed as his ship shook from multiple impacts. "Where are these weapons coming from? How are humans doing this?" But there was no time for answers. Missile swarms launched from the human ships, moving faster than Kravith sensors could track. The missiles were guided by computer systems that had been studying Kravith ship designs for months. Every shot hit exactly where it would do the most damage. In 12 minutes, 3 entire Kravith fleets were reduced to expanding clouds of debris. Not a single human ship was even scratched. The pirates who had terrorized human space for decades were completely destroyed before they could send a single distress signal. But the attack on New Haven was just the beginning. Across human space, every alien military base, every pirate nest, and every slave trading post came under attack at exactly the same moment. Human ships that had been dismissed as cargo haulers revealed their true nature as weapons of war. On the bridge of humanity, new flagship Retribution, Admiral Song Min-jung coordinated strikes across 17 star systems. Her ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, built in secret and armed with weapons that aliens could not even imagine. Strike teams report all targets eliminated, Admiral. Her tactical officer announced, "The Vorthak outpost at Kepler is destroyed. The hegemony base at Wolf 359 is gone. The slave markets at Proxima have been reduced to rubble." Admiral Song Min-jung smiled as she watched the tactical display. Every red dot representing an alien military installation was disappearing one by one. Execute Phase 2, launch the biological weapons. Dr. Kim Soo-jin virus had been loaded into special delivery systems that looked like normal space debris. The modified Earth virus spread silently through hegemony space, targeting their genetic weakness. Within hours, thousands of hegemony soldiers and officials began falling ill with symptoms that their doctors could not understand or treat. The psychological impact was even greater than the physical damage. For 60 years, aliens had seen humans as weak creatures who begged for help. Now they faced an enemy that had been preparing in secret while appearing completely helpless. On Nexus Prime Station, where Commander Park Hyun had been humiliated months before panic spread through the corridors, alien officials who had laughed at human requests now screamed orders at subordinates who had no idea how to respond to this new threat. Chancellor Vex of the hegemony received the first reports in his private chambers, the same being who had told humans to accept their place. As servants now stared at casualty reports that made no sense. "How is this possible?" he demanded from his military advisors. "Humans do not have this kind of technology. We have monitored their shipyards for decades. They build simple cargo vessels and passenger ships. Sir, it appears they have been deceiving us for years." His intelligence chief replied nervously. "The ships we thought were harmless cargo haulers were actually disguised warships. Our entire assessment of human capabilities was completely wrong." The truth was even worse than Chancellor Vex could imagine. Every alien species that had participated in human oppression was discovering that their computer networks had been infiltrated, their communications monitored, and their military codes broken. Nam Jin-woo sat in his intelligence center on Earth watching as his agents revealed themselves across the galaxy. The janitors who had cleaned alien buildings for years suddenly had access to security systems. The translators, who had worked in alien governments, began broadcasting sensitive information. The maintenance workers who had fixed alien equipment started sabotaging critical systems. Agent Kim Hae-jin reports that she has shut down all power to the Rigel military base, Nam Jin-woo announced to his team. Agent Lee Soo-bin has activated explosive charges in the Vorthak ammunition depot. Agent Park Dong-hyun has taken control of the communication array on Nexus Prime. The aliens finally understood that they had been living with the enemy for years. The quiet, humble humans they had barely noticed had been watching, learning, and preparing for this exact moment. On the Luminary homeworld, the crystal cities that had shone for thousands of years suddenly went dark. Agent Cho Mi-young had spent 3 years working as a maintenance technician in their power grid. Now she activated devices that cut all energy flow to the planet's surface. The Luminari, who had turned transparent to show their contempt for humans, now faced complete darkness. Their beautiful crystal bodies that had made them feel superior were useless without the stellar energy that powered their civilization. Back on Earth, President Yang Mi-kyung addressed the human population in a speech that would be remembered for centuries. "Today we showed the galaxy what happens when you push humanity too far. We are no longer the species that begs for scraps. We are the species that remembers every insult, every injustice, and every child taken from their families." The first day of the new galactic order had ended with humanity victorious beyond their wildest dreams, but this was only the beginning. The real changes were yet to come. 6 months passed since Commander Park Hyun sent his 3-word message back to Earth. The galaxy continued as it always had, with aliens treating humans like unwanted guests at their own party. The Kravith pirates became even bolder, attacking human freight ships right in the middle of busy trade routes. They knew no one would stop them. On the bridge of the Kravith raider ship, Blood Fang, Captain Zeth looked at his latest prize. A human cargo vessel called Lucky Star drifted helplessly in space. With its engines dead, the human crew was probably hiding in their safe room waiting for the inevitable. Another easy catch, Zeth told his crew as they prepared boarding pods. These humans never learn to fight back. They just send distress signals. That nobody answers, load them up, and take whatever looks valuable. What Captain Zeth did not know was that the Lucky Star had been sending more than distress signals. For the past 6 months, every human ship that got attacked had been recording everything. The locations, the tactics, the weapons, the crew sizes. All of this information flowed back to Earth through secret channels that aliens never bothered to monitor, deep in the Rocky Mountains on Earth. Dr. Kim Soo-jin worked in a laboratory that officially did not exist. She had spent 15 years studying alien biology to help treat diseases that might spread between species. Now she used that same knowledge for a very different purpose. The Vorthak nervous system is incredibly sensitive to sound frequencies between 18 and 23 kilohertz. She explained to her team of researchers, a properly tuned sonic weapon would cause immediate paralysis and death within 30 seconds. Her assistant, Dr. Park Min-young, looked uncomfortable. Are we really going to use biological weapons, doctor? This goes against everything we believed in. Dr. Kim Soo-jin looked up from her microscope, her eyes cold. They had 60 years to treat us like people, Min-young. Instead, they laughed at us, spit on us, and sold our children in slave markets. The time for being nice is over. On the other side of the continent, General Cho Woo-jin stood in a massive underground facility that stretched for miles beneath the Nevada desert. Thousands of workers moved, like ants building weapons that would have seemed impossible just months before. The sound of hammering and welding echoed through the tunnels 24 hours a day. The railgun tests exceeded all expectations. General, reported Colonel Lee Jae-sung, we can punch through any known armor plating at ranges up to 50,000 kilometers. The aliens have never seen kinetic weapons like these because they think energy shields make them invincible. General Cho Woo-jin nodded as he watched technicians load a railgun round the size of a telephone pole. Their shields are designed to stop plasma and laser weapons. What happens when a chunk of metal hits them at 30% the speed of light? Complete devastation, sir. The computer models show total hull breach and catastrophic decompression. The target vessel would be destroyed in less than a second. Similar facilities operated on Mars in the asteroid belt and on hidden bases throughout human space. Engineers worked around the clock, turning every human vessel into a weapon of war. Cargo ships received hidden missile launchers. Passenger liners got armor plating and concealed gun turrets. Even small personal craft were fitted with devices that would surprise anyone who bothered. To scan them, engineer Han So-young supervised the retrofit of the cargo ship New Dawn in the shipyards above Luna. The ship looked exactly the same from the outside, but inside it had been completely transformed. Hidden compartments held enough firepower to destroy a small fleet. The beauty of it is they will never see it coming, Han So-young told her team. For 60 years, they watched us build peaceful trade ships. They think they know everything about human engineering. They have no idea what we are really capable of. The work continued in secret because aliens rarely paid attention to human activities. They saw humans as harmless creatures who built simple things and caused no problems. If they had looked closer, they might have noticed that human trade patterns had changed dramatically. More ships were moving between colonies carrying cargo that was never registered with galactic customs on Earth. President Yang Mi-kyung stood in the Situation Room deep beneath the Capitol building. Wall-sized screens showed the positions of every human ship in the galaxy, as well as every known alien military installation. The amount of information flowing in would have amazed anyone who thought humans were primitive. The intelligence network is performing beyond our expectations, Madam President, reported Nam Jin-woo, the head of human intelligence operations. We have agents in position throughout alien space. Most of them have been there for years working as servants, translators, and Maintenance workers. The aliens never suspected that their janitors might be spies. President Yang Mi-kyung studied the displays showing alien fleet movements and patrol routes. How long before we are ready for the first phase? 3 more weeks. Madam President, every human ship will be in position, and all ground-based installations will be operational. We will have complete tactical superiority in the opening engagement. The intelligence operation was perhaps the most impressive part of the entire plan. For decades, humans had worked in alien societies doing jobs that nobody else wanted. They cleaned buildings, translated languages, and fixed broken equipment. They were invisible to most aliens who barely noticed servants and workers. But these invisible humans had been watching, learning, and reporting back to Earth. Nam Jin-woo looked at reports from agents across the galaxy. Agent Kim Hye-jin reports that the hegemony fleet at Rigel Station follows the same patrol pattern every day for 3 months. Agent Lee Soo-bin has identified the location of every ammunition depot in the Vorthak home system. Agent Park Dong-hyun has been maintaining the computers on Nexus Prime Station for 2 years. He has access to every communication that goes through their network. The aliens had no idea that their most sensitive information was being copied and sent to human intelligence every day. They never thought to check if their servants could read their languages or understand their technology. They assumed humans were too stupid to be dangerous. Dr. Kim Soo-jin made her final breakthrough on a cold Tuesday morning. She had been working on a modified version of a common Earth virus, something so simple that alien medical scanners would not even detect it until it was too late. The hegemony genetic structure has a flaw in their immune system, she announced to her team. This modified virus will spread through their population in days. It will not kill them immediately, but it will make them too sick to fight. The effects are completely reversible with the right treatment which only we possess. As the weeks passed, human preparations reached their final stages. Every ship was in position, every weapon was loaded, and every agent was ready. The aliens continued their normal activities, completely unaware that everything was about to change. Captain Lee Dong-woo stood on the bridge of his ship, Hidden Strike, watching alien cargo vessels pass by in the trade corridor. None of them bothered to scan his ship because it looked like every other human freighter they had seen thousands of times before. They had no idea that inside the cargo hold were enough missiles to level a city. All stations report ready, Captain. His weapons officer reported. We are locked onto 17 targets and awaiting orders. Captain Lee Dong-woo smiled as he thought about all the times aliens had laughed at human weakness. They wanted to see what humans are really capable of soon. They will get their wish. The galaxy was about to learn that the quiet, peaceful humans they had ignored for so long had been preparing for this moment. The age of human begging was ending, and the age of human strength was about to begin. Commander Park Hyun walked through the metal corridors of Nexus Prime Station with heavy steps. His uniform was clean and pressed, but it felt like a costume for a play nobody wanted to watch. The other aliens in the hallway moved away from him, not out of respect, but like he carried some disease that might spread to them. He had been to this station 12 times in the past 5 years. Each time he came with hope. Each time he left with nothing but shame burning in his chest. Today felt different, though. Today felt like the last time he would ever have to walk these halls as a beggar. The great council chamber stretched out before him like a vast arena designed to make visitors feel small. Hundreds of seats rose up in circles around, a small platform in the center where Park Hyun would stand and ask for help that would never come. The seats were filling up with beings from across the galaxy. Most of them had never seen a human before except in pictures or slave markets. The Vorthak. Delegates slithered into their section, their scaled bodies gleaming under the bright lights. They were 7 feet tall with 4 arms and mouths that dripped acid when they spoke. Their yellow eyes looked at Park Hyun like he was something stuck. To their shoe, the Vorthak had been raiding human colonies for 20 years, taking people to work in their deep mines. Most humans who went into those mines never came back out. Above them sat the Luminari in their crystal forms. They looked like living diamonds that caught and bent light in beautiful ways, but their beauty hid cold hearts. The Luminari controlled most of the galaxy's trade routes, and they charged humans triple what they charged other species for basic supplies. When Park Hyun looked up at them. They simply turned transparent, showing their complete lack of interest in anything he might say. The hegemony section dominated the upper levels of the chamber. Their leader, Chancellor Vex, sat on a throne made from the bones of some extinct species. The hegemony looked almost human except for their gray skin and completely black eyes. They ruled most of the known galaxy and treated humans like annoying insects that might need to be stepped on. Eventually, Park Hyun reached the center platform and placed his hands on the speaking podium. The chamber fell silent, not out of respect but because they wanted to hear what pathetic request humanity would make. This time, he looked up at hundreds of alien faces, some curious, some bored, some openly hostile, all of them certain that humans were beneath their notice. Honored council members. Park Hyun began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's speakers. I come before you today to ask for help with a problem that threatens not just humanity, but the stability of this entire region of space. A low rumble of what might have been laughter came from the Vorthak section. One of them leaned forward and spat a stream of acid onto the floor near Park Hyun's feet. The acid hissed and bubbled, eating through the metal. The message was clear. Humans and their problems were worth less than spit. Park Hyun continued anyway, because that's what humans did. They kept trying even when hope was gone. The Kravith pirates have increased their attacks on human colonies by 300% in the past year. They're not just taking supplies anymore. They're taking people. Entire families disappear in the night. Children are sold in markets on worlds. I cannot. Even named Chancellor Vex leaned forward slightly, his black eyes reflecting the chamber's lights. And what would you have us do about this, Commander Park? Were you not warned that settling in the outer rim would bring such dangers? Did the Council not advise your species to remain in the small territory we graciously allowed you? The words hit Park Hyun like physical blows. He had heard them before in different forms from different mouths. Always the same message. Humans deserved whatever happened to them because they dared to exist in space that belonged to better species. We followed all regulations, Park Hyun said, fighting to keep his voice steady. We registered our colonies with the proper authorities. We paid all fees and taxes. We have been model citizens of this galactic community for 60 years. Yet when we ask for the same protection offered to other species, we are told to be grateful for whatever scraps we receive. More sounds came from the assembled aliens, some chittering, some buzzing, some making noises that had no human equivalent. The luminary began to flicker between visible and transparent like a light with a loose connection. It was their way of showing extreme boredom. A new voice spoke from the mid-level section where the Zentari delegates sat. The Zentari looked like giant insects with too many legs and compound eyes that never blinked. Perhaps the humans should consider that their weakness invites attack. If they cannot defend themselves, they should seek stronger protectors who might be willing to shelter them in exchange for useful services. Park Hyun knew what useful services meant: slavery by another name. Humans working for alien masters in exchange for protection that might be withdrawn. At any moment he had seen the contracts. Some human colonies had already signed them, trading freedom for safety that never came. We are not asking for charity, Park Hyun said, his voice growing stronger. We are asking for the same rights and protection that every other species in this council enjoys. We contribute to galactic trade. We share our knowledge and resources. We have never broken a treaty or failed to meet our obligations, yet we are treated like parasites, begging for scraps. Chancellor Vex stood up slowly, his movements deliberate and threatening. Commander Park, your species seems to misunderstand its position in the natural order. The strong protect the weak when it serves their interests. The weak serve the strong in return. This is how civilization functions across the galaxy. Your people's refusal to accept this simple truth is why you find yourselves in constant danger. The chamber erupted in sounds of agreement from dozens of different species. Park Hyun stood alone, on his platform, surrounded by beings who saw humans as problems to be managed, rather than people to be protected. He thought of the families on the colonies, the children who went to sleep afraid, The parents who worked extra shifts to pay tribute to pirates who might still come in the night. "We are not asking to be above other species," Park Hyun said when the noise died down. "We are asking to be treated as equals. We have the same right to exist in this galaxy as anyone else in this chamber." "Chancellor," Vex smiled, showing teeth that were too sharp and too white. "Rights are earned, Commander Park. They are not given to those who cannot take them. Your species has shown no ability to defend itself, let alone earn respect from its betters. Perhaps it is time to accept that some species are meant to serve while others are meant to rule." The vote was swift and brutal. Humanity's request for protection was denied by a margin of 412 to 0 with 37 abstentions. A single species voted to help humanity in its time of need. Park Hyun watched the numbers appear on the great display screen and felt something break inside his chest as he walked back through the station corridors. Park Hyun passed the merchant, levels where human artifacts were sold as curiosities and human children worked as servants for alien families. He saw a small girl no more than 8 years old, carrying drinks to a table of Vorthak traders who barely acknowledged her existence. Park Hyun stopped at a communication booth and sent a message back to Earth. The message was encrypted with codes that only the highest levels of human government knew. The message contained just 3 words, but they would change everything. "No more. Begging,